Why is it so important to be able to read effectively and to understand college-level text? It's extremely important to know how to read and comprehend college text effectively because it will seriously affect how you succeed academically in school.
How has learning reading strategies and applying them been helpful to you as a college student? Using learning strategies, I've learned how to retain the information that I'm reading.
What does an effective reader do, and why is that important to your success in reading college-level text? Active readers, they circle the important stuff, they underline the questions, they're active in taking notes, and that affects it because you're able to actually comprehend what you're reading and you're really able to focus. Yeah, I write it down to make sure that I actively have the notes, so I'm like, oh, the answer's here, and then I jot it down, but I jot down a section.
I do that in my online. I do it online learning because no one's teaching you.
Right.
On online, and you're having to read it yourself, and then I'm like, oh, that's important, write it down in my notebook, and then all my other students in my technician classes are like, wow, you write everything down? They're like, wow, I wish I could be more like you.
So a focus marker is something that you use in order to point out which line that you're on. You can use it to kind of follow along. It's you use it in conjunction with tracking, so you can see what you're reading as you're reading it without being distracted by the text around it. It's very, very, very useful to me. It's drastically improved my reading rate and comprehension because it keeps me from getting sidetracked, and I tend to skip lines when I'm reading fast. And it's a very useful tool.
Reading out loud, sometimes I'm sure y'all hear me back there because that's the only way I can really pick up the information, because when I'm looking at it on text, it just doesn't, it just goes in through one ear and just out the other, and I don't really think about it, but whenever I say it out loud, it helps me to focus a lot more on what I'm reading, not get distracted.
Reading out loud helps you comprehend. So you can be looking at a text and be thinking about something else in your mind, and you're not reading it, and then by the time you're done, you're like, oh, what did I just read? And so reading out loud, or lip reading even, truly helps you comprehend what you're doing.
So chunking is kind of you're breaking things down into individual sections where you're maintaining one point. And it's very useful, especially with note-taking when you're going back through things. You can kind of take notes on individual chunks and sections, and then put that together to form your summary of just establish the main idea and the details.
Yes. So to sum up what everybody said, basically all we really need is metacognition. You need to know, I know what I'm reading, or hey, I don't know what I'm reading. Let's reread. Let's take these notes. Let's figure it out firsthand.
Tell us about charting and gallery walk.
We had to be able to pull every single detail out of every single paragraph to find all the answers to the charting.
And did that apply your reading skills?
Oh, absolutely.
Yes, yes. And then you had to reread it on the chart. Okay, tell me about the gallery walk, though.
We could both do that.
I think the gallery walk, it has lots to do with the kinesthetics and getting up and moving around. And whenever you're up and you have to walk around and search for things, that's when you really pick up information, because not only are you thinking about it, you're writing it, you're up, you're touching it, you're doing everything. Yeah.
And that's active reading.
Right, exactly.
Like she said, there's a lot of kinesthetic you're learning, and everywhere you're touching it, you're seeing it, you're feeling it, and I think that helps a whole lot.
Also have a lot of other people's input on the same thing, so it's not just what you're going based off what you know.
Yeah,
everybody else as well.
How's reading comprehension, understanding what you're reading, having metacognition going to affect you in college? Yes.
Okay, so reading comprehension is extremely important in college, and especially in the career, because especially if you're on college level text, or if you're doing memos and things like that, where you absolutely have to learn something, it is extremely important that you understand it and that you're able to retain it, so that you can actually apply it. Otherwise, you're not really doing anything when you're reading. That's passive reading. There's no point in doing that. And in my career, especially in teaching and everything, there are certain careers where reading is an extremely important aspect, where you have to be able to sit down, look at some text, and even if it's bulk and full of trash, you have to be able to pull out the important aspects and know what you're talking about, in order to apply that.
So reading comprehension is really going to affect my career because I'm going to be a teacher. I have to know what I'm teaching these kids. I have to comprehend how I'm going to teach them, what day, what my plans are, and I have to also talk to my peers a lot, like my principal and so many other people. It just, reading and knowing what you're reading is going to affect you greatly no matter what career you're in.
Go to what you're going to be. You're going to be a nurse.
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
so that, and this is really at the beginning, is what this whole program was about.
Right.
Improving our nurses' reading skills. But it's branched out to everybody now because we're all doing it. How can improved reading skills help you to think critically and solve problems? Think about it in the nursing field.
Oh yeah, so, well, in the nursing field, there's like a lot, you could have one thing and it could be like multiple problems. Like you have to just like, God, I really am having a hard time answering this question.
What about charting? When you read a chart, or you have to read a chart as a nurse?
Yeah, you have to read multiple charts. There's all kind of like, if you don't know the right thing, you're not going to solve the problem. You're going to have to really know what you're like learning, what you're doing, what it's about, because yeah, you're going to run into a lot of problems. If you
Could it
don't.
save somebody's life whether you can read the right way?
Yeah, and if you read the wrong thing and you do the wrong thing, then that can be a serious problem too.
Right.
It's like with the dosages and medications.
Yeah,
right?
also, like when you're giving CPR or something, you have like an AED. If you don't read it the right way and you hook that sucker up on somebody the wrong way, and you're gonna mess something up.
Really? Wow.
Probably, it sends
Okay.
electric shock through your body.
Okay.
So if you hook it up on, I don't know,
Right.
it's just a thought. You know,
So
if you
do
get it
all
the
of you
wrong
think
way.
you're going to be solving problems in your career?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, what is going to be given to you to help you solve a problem? Do you have an idea? Are you going to be given directions? Are you going to be giving a plan? Are you going to be creating a plan?
Yeah, kind of.
Go ahead.
No.
But
As an instrumentation technician, you might just be given, all right, this valve is giving off 40 PSI when it's supposed to be giving out 100 PSI. Go fix it.
Oh, so you got to apply what you've read and what you've learned
Oh,
in
yes.
application of learning. All right,
And also
anybody
you
else?
have to know the entire plant, like the back of your hand. You gotta locate these little valves and these little pins that you gotta pull and change.
it's like surgery.
It exactly
I know,
like
that's
surgery.
I was
Mechanical
cause-
surgery, like
Yep.
operation.
Yeah.
Because I'm
Anybody
going,
else?
Yeah, I'm going into surgery too, so you don't want to go into the surgery and your surgeon not be prepared. So by reading and learning, there's a lot of reading. They say you have to be a lifelong learner and have a dedication to education, because reading and retaining that information is really crucial when I'm going to do a surgery on a patient. You don't want me to be able to mess up or miss a section of reading and
Right.
then completely mess up, and that could be life-threatening to you.
That's exactly good.
Your notes are so much better with the reading strategies. Your test taking skills, off the charts. They're just very useful, honestly.
Right.
Not to mention, you can pick up on a lot of different texts. It's not just one certain thing. If you know how to read, you can read pretty much anything and
Right.
comprehend it.
Oh, for sure.
So, yes.
And if you're the slowest reader, you might be the smartest person in the room just because you're a slow reader.
I think the quota is where the hindrance comes into play. Like if it's just you're aiming to get faster, but you're still aiming to like retain as much information, there's nothing wrong with that. The problem is when you're trying to rush how much you're reading and you're sacrificing the retention and comprehension to do so.
Good point.
So by learning to become a better reader, it's going to help our future's careers, like we were talking earlier. So we can bring the skills that we're learning here at college, and not only just our academic studies, like our specific sciences if you're a science major, but also this is like a basic life, ability and life skill that you can have, and then we can bring on to every aspect of our life, being a mom one day, being a grandparent, These are skills that are just needed to be learned.
Okay, anybody else?
So it's not only that, you also gain a lot of confidence in your test taking skills and your note taking skills. Like, I don't know about you guys, but for me personally, whenever I sit and I take a test and I use my reading strategies, I feel so much more confident in my answers. Like, we use the checks and the X's and the question marks, and like visually seeing that is so appealing to me because I can visually see, hey, that's just not even it. And that really helps me gain confidence.
I second that.
Yeah.
Because anatomy and physiology, before having, like the focus marker and all that, oh girl, it's hard, it's not easy. But now, like, learning to become a better reader helps me sit down, not be so frustrated, helps me look at the material I'm given, and like, okay, you can break this down, you got all this stuff to help you out, it's not gonna be that hard.
So you have steps and different ways of doing things to
Right.
help you accomplish what you want to accomplish.
So the best thing about becoming a better reader is, as a very weak reader, I was very unconfident about my reading skills, but using my reading strategies, I'm able to see my grades go up, my reading comprehension go up, and it just gives me a bunch of confidence that I can do this.
Right. Okay, how are you doing that? How are you doing that? Other courses?
Well, like she said, anatomy and physiology is hard. So like using those strategies, breaking it down is like much more simpler. It helps you understand it better.
Simply complex.
Yes.
Yeah. Anybody else?
I mean, I use the focus marker in literally every course that I have, including my digital courses. It's absolutely has helped me to retain the information way, way more, especially on tests, because tests you're so stressed and you're trying to rush through things.
Right.
And like, if you can just slow down and look at it, like I've done way better on all my tests.
Good. So you're using reading strategies in testing. We
Oh,
we call them test tips and test strategies.
Mm-hmm.
But you're really using reading strategies when you take a test. And for test prep, to do better on your test, and so is that important in college?
Yes,
Oh,
very
yes.
much.
Yes,
I
yes.
also think it's weird. I was doing some of these strategies in high school, like the focus marker
Yes.
and the underlining, but you don't see most people doing stuff like that.
Word problems, I have a hard time comprehending the entire word problem, but by circling and underlining, I can just circle the entire question they're asking and focus on that one question and answer the question without having to use all this background information about, Susie going to the market and,
Throwing a
getting
bunch
her
of-
basket,
Yeah.
things like
Yeah, just throwing a bunch of junk in there to
67
distract you.
Right.
No one bats an eye.
Okay.
It's a lot of resources. I feel like it should be done campus-wide because, it's not going to hurt anything for sure. It's
Right.
only going to help. So, yeah, I think that people getting a hold on this curriculum, that's useful for everyone. If it's helping us, imagine who else it could help.
Right.
A lot of people,
That's
I'm
true.
sure. So.
Yeah, if it was campus-wide, like she was saying, it wouldn't just be us using these skills, it would be the entire campus, and that would look pretty good on the entire campus if the average grades are going up because
right.
everyone uses these
That's
reading
right.
strategies.
Yes.
So it would look good on the city, the state,
Mm-hmm.
America itself.
It's
Right.
not even that. You're capable of teaching children and like people that you tutor how to use these skills, and then from them it goes on to the next generation and the next generation and the next
You're exactly
generation.
right.
So then everyone has these skills and everyone's
You're
comprehending
exactly
better.
right.
It's
Ripple
just
effect.
it's an upgrade. Yeah, it's a ripple effect.
Ripple